I still remember the exact moment I realised something had shifted between us. It was a random Tuesday afternoon, 3 months into my marketing internship at this tech startup downtown, and I was sitting in the break room scrolling through my phone when Kieran walked in. He had this slightly nervous energy about him, fidgeting with his coffee cup, and when our eyes met he looked away quickly. That should have been my first clue that something was different, but honestly, I was so focused on not staring at him for too long that I missed all the signs. Let me back up. Kieran and I started our internships on the same day back in January. We were the only 2 interns in the marketing department, which meant we got paired up for basically everything. Training sessions, project work, lunch breaks, all of it. The first time I saw him, I thought he was attractive, sure, but I didn't think much of it. He had this dark curly hair that was always slightly messy, like he'd just run his hands through it, and these green eyes that seemed to notice everything. He wore these vintage band t-shirts under blazers, which shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. But it was more than that. From day one, Kieran was just easy to be around. We clicked immediately, not in some dramatic lightning bolt kind of way, but in that comfortable, natural way where you find yourself actually looking forward to Monday mornings because you know you'll be working with someone who gets your sense of humour. We'd grab coffee before our morning meetings, debate the merits of different marketing campaigns during lunch, stay late working on presentations and somehow make it fun. He introduced me to this hole-in-the-wall Thai place near the office. I showed him the rooftop access where you could actually get decent cell reception. We fell into this easy rhythm, and I told myself that's all it was. A good work friendship, nothing more. Except somewhere along the way, I started noticing things I shouldn't have been noticing. The way he'd bite his lower lip when he was concentrating on his laptop, how his entire face would light up when he laughed at something genuinely funny. The fact that he always remembered how I took my coffee, even though I'd only mentioned it once. Small things, insignificant things. Things that definitely did not mean I was developing feelings for my internship buddy. I'd catch myself watching him during team meetings, not paying attention to whatever our supervisor was saying about Q2 metrics, just observing the way Kieran would lean forward when he was interested in something, or how he'd doodle in the margins of his notebook when he was thinking. Once, he caught me staring and raised an eyebrow with this little smile, and I felt my face go hot. I mumbled something about zoning out and forced myself to focus on the presentation slides for the rest of the meeting. The thing is, I'd dated women before, had a girlfriend in college for almost 2 years. It ended amicably enough when she moved to Seattle for grad school. I'd always assumed I was straight, never really questioned it. But there was something about Kieran that made me reconsider everything I thought I knew about myself. Late at night, alone in my apartment, I'd replay conversations we'd had, analyse every interaction trying to figure out what I was feeling. Was this just admiration? Did I want to be him or be with him? The distinction felt crucial and terrifying. We'd been working together for about 2 months when things started getting more personal between us. One evening we were the last ones in the office, finishing up this big campaign proposal that was due the next morning. It was almost 9, we'd ordered pizza and we were both exhausted. Kieran was sitting on the floor of our shared workspace, surrounded by printouts and sticky notes, and he just looked up at me and said, "You know, I'm really glad we got paired up for this internship. I don't think I could have survived this place without you." Something in my chest tightened when he said that. I tried to play it cool, said something like, "Yeah, you're not completely terrible to work with either," but my voice came out softer than I intended. He held my gaze for a moment longer than necessary, and I wondered if he could hear how fast my heart was beating. Then his phone buzzed, breaking the moment, and we went back to work. But something had shifted. The air felt different between us after that night. I started paying more attention to our interactions, looking for signs that maybe, possibly, he felt something too. The way he'd touch my shoulder when he leaned over to look at my computer screen. How he always seemed to position himself close to me during group meetings, our arms almost touching. Once, we were walking back from lunch and it started raining, and we shared my umbrella, pressed together under the small canopy, and I swear I felt him lean into me just slightly. Or maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was seeing what I wanted to see. The confusion was eating me up inside. I'd never felt this way about a guy before, and I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't talk to my friends about it because I wasn't even sure what I was feeling, let alone ready to say it out loud. So I did what any confused person does in the digital age. I started obsessively checking his social media, looking for clues. His Instagram was mostly photography, moody shots of the city at night, coffee shops, old buildings. His Facebook was barely used, but his LinkedIn, that's where things got interesting. I noticed he'd updated his profile recently, added new skills, posted about a project we'd worked on together, and then I saw it. He'd viewed my profile, multiple times actually. I could see in my profile analytics that someone from his company had been checking out my page regularly. It had to be him. But why? We worked together every day. He knew everything about my professional background because we talked about it. So why was he looking at my LinkedIn? I tried not to read too much into it. Maybe he was just being thorough, keeping tabs on his co-worker. Maybe it meant nothing. But a small, hopeful part of me wondered if maybe he was trying to learn more about me. The same way I found myself reading his old tweets at 2 a.m, trying to understand who he was beyond the person I saw at work. Our internship was supposed to end in April, and as March rolled around, I started dreading the idea of not seeing Kieran every day. We talked vaguely about staying in touch, maybe grabbing drinks after the internship ended, but nothing concrete. The uncertainty was killing me. I'd finally admitted to myself that what I felt for him was more than friendship, but I had no idea if he felt the same way, and the thought of confessing my feelings and potentially ruining our friendship was terrifying. Then one Monday morning, everything changed. I was at my desk checking my email before our weekly team meeting when I got a LinkedIn notification. Someone had viewed my profile. I clicked on it out of habit, and my stomach dropped. It was a recruiter from this amazing marketing firm across town, one of the best in the city. They'd sent me a message asking if I'd be interested in interviewing for a junior marketing position. A real job, not an internship. I couldn't believe it. I immediately started drafting a response, my hands actually shaking with excitement. This was the kind of opportunity I'd been dreaming about. And then Kieran walked in, and I looked up, and something in his expression made me pause. He looked nervous, that same energy from the break room encounter, but more intense. He was gripping his phone tightly, and when he saw me, he took a deep breath. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "There's something I need to tell you." My heart started racing. We stepped into one of the small conference rooms, the kind with glass walls that didn't offer much privacy, but at least gave us the illusion of a private conversation. Kieran closed the door and turned to face me, and I could see he was genuinely anxious. He kept running his hand through his hair, that nervous habit I'd noticed before. So, he started, then stopped. Tried again. I did something kind of weird, and I need to be honest with you about it. I got an email this morning from a recruiter at Catalyst Marketing. They want to interview me for a position. Catalyst Marketing, the same firm that had just contacted me. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "That's great," I said carefully. "That's a really good company." "Yeah," he said, not meeting my eyes. "The thing is, I didn't apply there. I applied, but I didn't find them. They found me. Or I guess, I found them through you." "What do you mean?" He finally looked at me directly and I could see he was embarrassed. "I've been checking your LinkedIn. A lot. I know that's weird. I know. But I was curious about your career path, what kind of companies you were interested in, and I noticed you'd been looking at Catalyst Marketing's page, and they'd viewed your profile, so I looked into them, and they seemed perfect, and I applied. I basically followed your professional footsteps to find this opportunity." I didn't know what to say. Part of me was flattered that he'd been paying that much attention to me. Another part was confused about why he felt the need to confess this. "It's not that weird," I said slowly. We're in the same field. It makes sense to look at similar opportunities." "But that's not all," Kieran continued, and now he really looked uncomfortable. "I need you to know why I was checking your LinkedIn so much. It wasn't just professional curiosity. I was looking for an excuse, honestly. An excuse to stay connected to you after the internship ends. When I saw Catalyst was interested in you, I thought maybe if I worked there too, we could still see each other. Still work together. Because the thought of not seeing you every day has been driving me crazy." The conference room suddenly felt very small. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. "What are you saying?" I managed to ask. Kieran laughed, but it sounded shaky. "I'm saying I'm an idiot who's been obsessively checking your social media like a creep because I have feelings for you, and I didn't know how else to deal with it. I'm saying that every time we work late together, I have to remind myself not to stare at you. I'm saying that sharing that umbrella in the rain was the highlight of my entire month, which is pathetic, but there it is. I followed your LinkedIn to a job opportunity because I'm apparently incapable of just telling you how I feel like a normal person. I stood there, completely frozen, trying to process what he'd just said. All those moments I'd thought I was imagining, all those glances and touches and late-night conversations, they'd meant something to him too. He'd been just as confused and conflicted as I had been. The relief was overwhelming. "You have feelings for me," I repeated, like I needed to hear it again to believe it. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I do. And I know this is complicated, and maybe you don't feel the same way, and I've probably just made everything incredibly awkward, but I couldn't keep pretending anymore, especially not if we might end up working at the same company again. I needed you to know the truth." I took a step closer to him, watching his eyes widen slightly. "For the record," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I've been checking your social media too, and I noticed you'd viewed my LinkedIn multiple times, and I've spent the last month trying to figure out if what I was feeling was real or if I was just projecting, because I've never felt this way about a guy before, and it scared me. But yeah, Kieran, I have feelings for you too." The smile that spread across his face was worth every moment of confusion and fear I'd experienced over the past few months. "Really?" he asked, and he sounded so hopeful it made my chest ache. "Really," I confirmed. "And honestly, the fact that you stalked my LinkedIn to find a job opportunity is kind of endearing in a weird way." He laughed, and the tension in the room finally broke. "So we're both idiots who've been pining over each other while pretending to just be work friends?" "Apparently," I said. "Though I think you win the Stalker Award with the whole LinkedIn thing." "Hey," he protested, but he was grinning now. "I prefer to think of it as being professionally invested in your career development." We stood there smiling at each other like idiots, and I realized I had no idea what happened next. "So what do we do now?" I asked. "We've got another month left in the internship." "Well," Kieran said, stepping closer, "we could start by being honest with each other. No more pretending, and maybe we could grab dinner sometime, like an actual date, not just co-workers getting food." "I'd like that," I said. And then, because I'd spent too long overthinking everything, I added, "And for what it's worth, I hope we both get interviews at Catalyst, even if you did find them by stalking me." He reached out and took my hand, tentatively, like he was testing whether this was really okay. His palm was warm against mine, and the simple touch sent electricity up my arm. "I should probably tell you," he said, "that I already got contacted for an interview. It's next Thursday." "Mine's next Wednesday," I said, and we both started laughing at the absurdity of it all. We ended up both getting offers from Catalyst Marketing, started our jobs there in May, and this time we didn't have to pretend to be just colleagues. We took things slow, figuring out what it meant to be together, navigating the complexity of a workplace relationship, and my own journey of understanding my sexuality. But having Kieran there, patient and understanding and just as invested in making it work as I was, made all the difference. Sometimes I think about that Tuesday afternoon in the break room, how nervous he looked, and I realise he was probably building up the courage even then to tell me the truth. And I'm grateful he did. Grateful he was brave enough to admit he'd been following my digital footprint, searching for ways to stay in my life, because it gave me permission to be brave too, to acknowledge feelings I'd been suppressing, to take a chance on something that scared me. We still joke about the LinkedIn thing. It's become our origin story, the quirky detail we share when people ask how we met. My boyfriend stalked my professional social media and followed me to a job, I'll say, and Kieran will protest that stalked is a strong word, and we'll laugh because we both know how close we came to never saying anything at all, to letting our internship end and going our separate ways, two people who are too afraid to be honest about what they felt. Looking back, I can see all the moments where we were circling around the truth, too scared to name it. But that's the thing about real connection. It finds a way, whether through late-night work sessions or shared umbrellas in the rain, or apparently through LinkedIn profile views and job applications. Sometimes the path to love is straightforward, and sometimes you have to follow someone's professional social media to figure out you're falling for them. Either way, I'm glad Kieran was persistent. I'm glad he took the risk. And I'm glad I finally admitted to myself what I was really feeling. Because now, sitting here with him, a whole future ahead of us, I can't imagine having missed out on this, on us. All because we were too afraid to say the words out loud. Total_char_count 16,847.